everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Today, we are talking about student orientation. This is a guide for parents and families. My name is Mikkel St. Germain. I'm the Director of Parent and Family Engagement here at Brown, and I'd like to welcome all of you to this, our final webinar of the summer. We're excited that you can be with us. Right now, we have 150 people approximately and climbing. So we'll let folks come in. I'll give a little housekeeping before I hand this off to my wonderful colleagues. Many of you submitted questions in advance of today's presentation, and we've used those questions to inform our presentation. However, if at any time during our webinar you have additional questions, please feel free to use them by clicking the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. We also have closed captioning available. We have a live captioner with today. And those captions are available for you just by using the CC button at the bottom of your screen. This session is being recorded, so if at any point you need to drop off or afterward you want to watch it again or share it with somebody in your family, you'll be able to view that where you registered. It takes about 24 to 48 hours to get that edited and posted for you, so give us a little bit of time, but I promise it'll be up there in time for you to reference it. Now, as I mentioned, it's the last webinar of our summer series, and we know that families are getting ready to come and join us on campus. We hope that those of you who are dropping your students off will be able to stick around and join us for the Parent and Family Welcome on September 2nd and 3rd. We have some great activities and information sessions and panels and opportunities for you to engage with senior administration. So we hope you'll be there. I'll put that link in the chat in just a little bit. We also hope that you will submit photos to our To Brown with Love campaign, where you can share your students' journey to Brown and have the opportunity to maybe win a prize or be featured on social media. So we've got a lot to cover today. Let's get started. It is my great pleasure to introduce the VP of Campus Life, Dr. Patricia Potevian.
Thank you so much, Mikkel. It's just really lovely to be here. I'd love to welcome everyone to this call. Welcome to the parents and families of Brown Class of 2030. This is such an exciting time. I always personally get so excited when we're welcoming new students. And I know that just last year, I was in your shoes, sending off my first son, my first child, off to college. And so I also know very personally how exciting a time this is for everyone. You all, I'm sure, have been anticipating now for months your students' arrival to Brown, and in just a couple of weeks, you'll be bringing the newest members of the Brown community to campus. We know that this is an important experience for your students, but we also truly deeply understand that this is an important experience for the entire family. Orientation here at Brown is really designed to help students begin to build the relationships that are going to be key relationships really for the rest of their lives. And we also know that we intend for orientation to be an opportunity to teach students how to navigate Brown and really find their place within the Brown community. Now, that being said, we know that not everything happens in the handful of days that make up orientation. We know this is just the beginning of your students' exposure to Brown, their journey at Brown. We want to set them up on the right foot and set the right foundation for them. But we know that orientation is a mere launching pad for them for the entirety of their experience here. And we are very excited for them to join us and to launch them into that orientation. We also know, of course, that sending a student off to college brings a huge mix of emotions. I know for me last year when I was sending my son off, I was so excited for him. I was very, very anxious about making sure that I had purchased all of the right things, that I was setting up his room the way he wanted to. I was nervous about whether he was going to find friends or not. I was really proud of the fact that he was headed off to college and that he had sort of figured out his way. It was just this huge ball of emotions. And at some point, I definitely burst into tears. It was away from him so that he knew that I had full confidence in him, but I knew for myself it was going to be really hard for him to leave. Now, this year, I'm sending him back off. There's a little bit less emotionality and a lot more excitement, but we know for every family that mix of emotions and of anxiety and pride and nerves and anticipation is going to look very, very different. And so here at Brown, we want to make sure that we have as many resources as possible available to help you navigate all of those emotions and make sure that you know that at the end, you're going to come out just okay and your student is going to be fantastic. We know that your students are beginning their own orientation experience, but we also know that there's going to be a little bit of orientation for our parents and families as well. So we have a parent and family welcome, and that gives families a real chance to meet other families, hear directly from folks like me and from other Brown leaders, learn about all of the resources that are available, and then experience the excitement and the beauty of campus. I'm very biased. I went to Brown and now I work at Brown. I think our campus is incredible. I think the resources are incredible. And I'm always happy to share some of that excitement with you all. And I think the parent and family welcome, excuse me, is the perfect time to do that. You know, one of the things that we hear regularly from our families, especially after going through orientation, is that it's really important for them to understand that they're not navigating this new experience by themselves. As university administrators, we've been through it a million times, but there are also parents and families that have been through it a couple of times and are going through it now. And so we like to form a big community of support around all of our parents and families, and we'll continue to provide you guys that support as you go through this process. We absolutely cannot wait to see you on campus and are so grateful for all of your hard work, your dedication, and your sacrifice that has allowed your student to come and join us and be Brunonians with us. We congratulate you again and really welcome you into this family. Now, my job was simply to welcome you and to share just how excited I am that your students are joining us. Now, the real people who are going to give you the real deal and all of the information that you need, Mikkel is going to introduce them next.
Oh, thank you, Pat. Really appreciate that. And yes, the two experts are coming up. It is my pleasure once again to introduce Mary Jordan, who is the Director of Student Experience here at Brown, and Shantae Montgomery, who some of you may already be familiar with from our advising webinar, who is the Associate Dean of the College for Class Year Advising. And they are going to tell you everything you need to know about student orientation.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mikkel, and thanks, Dr. Pat. Hi, parents and families. It is so lovely to see you and be with you today and to share just a little bit more about what your new student can expect in orientation in just a few weeks and how that relates to your role as a parent and supporter. So on the next slide, I have just a quick table of contents to ground us in what we're going to cover today. I want to share just a little bit about the governance model for how your orientation, your students' orientation and onboarding and first year experience really was sort of governed and developed. We'll share the 3 learning priorities that frame new student orientation. They have to do with engaging the open curriculum, using resources and seeking help, and community connections, really affirming a strong sense of belonging and meaningful friendships for your student. What makes orientation so very special here is the student-to-student approach. And so Dean Montgomery and I will be able to talk through 3 of the core groups of student leaders that make the orientation experience what it is. We'll talk a little bit about what you can expect during orientation. Dr. Pat mentioned how important it was for her student to make sure that their room was just right. We'll talk about all the different events, including a really exciting trip to Costco in Sharon, Massachusetts that we have coming up. And then we'll have good time at the end for questions as well. So the group that leads and develops and designs the orientation experience for your new Brunonian is called the Orientation Principles Group. We're a group of key stakeholders and decision makers from across campus, from really academic experts, experts in the student experience, the area coordinators that work in your student's first year dorm and make that community a thriving space. So we hold the responsibility for planning and developing and implementing orientation and the virtual summer onboarding experiences that your student has been participating in since the end of May. We provide oversight to communications, coordination, and assessment so we can make sure we're making evidence-informed decisions and improvements each year for the orientation of our undergraduate students.
So the Orientation Principles Group developed 3 core principles that serve as a framework for new student orientation to prepare your student for their journey at Brown. And those core principles include academic preparedness, community connections, and campus resources. We're going to break down what each of these core principles look like in our NSO communications, programs, and resources. Next slide, please. Now, as it relates to academic preparedness, which is our first core learning principle, it's where the learning outcome is for incoming students to learn about Brown's open curriculum and what that may look like for them through their exploration of academic programs and courses available at Brown. Some quick historical context. So the open curriculum was adopted by the faculty at Brown in 1969 after a year of collaborative study and debate. Which was led by approximately 80 students and 15 faculty about the need for educational reform. Our open curriculum encourages students the freedom to create their own educational journey, while it also expects students to remain open to people, ideas, and experiences that may be entirely new. For the sake of time, I won't get into the specific degree requirements, but you can view them in the Your Bruno Beginnings document, which your student will have to make a copy or download for you, since the permission settings is only for folks with Brown email credentials. You can also view this information on the college's website, and I'll be happy to share that link with you in the chat. I'll turn it back over to Mary.
Super. The next mindset that we really focus on with our new students is a using resources and seeking help mindset. We want to present students with opportunities to become familiar with campus resources, and even more importantly, to normalize that resources and help-seeking behaviors are a cornerstone of the Brown student experience and culture. We acknowledge that Brown, we have so many amazing resources to support students in every facet of their success here at Brown. And in 6 days, a student can't meaningfully make sense of all of that, and that's okay. We're really focused on a scaffolded learning design throughout the onboarding experience and first year to help students connect with the resources that they need the most earliest, to understand that there is a resource to support them with any roadblock or challenge that they may come across. And most importantly, to recognize that our culture is that the most successful students here seek support, seek help, and so that our students have really what they need to start classes on Wednesday, the 9th, and continue a supportive onboarding and learning more and more about the specific resources here at Brown beyond then. And finally, we have our community connections pillar. This is really about helping students establish healthy and meaningful connections, making friendships and a strong sense of belonging. So they're connecting with peers, with faculty, with staff, with the university broadly, and the Providence community. We know at Brown, a lot of our students come in not knowing anybody or not knowing anybody else really well. They might just know a person or two, and just marginally. So we really see orientation as a time for students to begin to find their community of belonging, to know that they are known and seen here, and unequivocally that they belong at Brown University.
So students at Brown love to find ways to give back to the community that has given them so much, and serving as a peer mentor is one way to pay it forward. There are a myriad of peer mentoring programs at Brown, but for the purposes of today, we're going to focus on the ones that students first interact with during new student orientation. Next slide. Meiklejohn Peer Advisors are sophomores, juniors, and seniors that are highly trained to provide first-year students with advice and counsel on the academic, extracurricular, and social transitions that come with attending college for the first time. Meiklejohn supports students' understanding of academic life at Brown from students' point of view and model what it actually means to have the freedom to choose any and all of your courses, and will also guide them through logistics such as registration. Meiklejohns undergo comprehensive training on advising principals, the Brown curriculum, and student services on campus. Next slide.
The next group of student leaders that your new Brunonian will meet are our community coordinators, sometimes known as CCs. CCs live in our first year residence halls, and they help the newest members of our community connect with their neighbors and their dorm community. So on the first night of move-in, the CCs will host community meetings and a dinner so that group can get to know one another. They'll also have coffee hours and a neighborhood rally during orientation. And they'll be with your student all year to support them, especially in the residence hall. And on move-in day, whether you arrive for a pre-orientation with your student or on September 2nd, our first year move-in day, your student's CC's door will be marked. You'll be able to see where they live. Hopefully, you'll be able to meet them. Certainly, if you come on September 2nd, you'll be able to meet them. And you'll be able to see exactly where they live and how they're really just embedded right in that community as a resource for your student. The last group of peer leaders we're going to talk about are the Bruno Fellows and Leaders. So the Bruno leaders on the next slide are our orientation peer leaders who facilitate large events. These are some of our traditions like our orientation dance, our ice cream social, and they also have 5 small group meetings that, again, are very sequenced to sort of help students connect with one another and then deepen those connections so that meaningful friendships can start to emerge, while helping them learn about our values, norms, and expectations. They'll also have many meals together. And just generally, this is a meaningful connection to an upper class student that your new Brunonian will be able to create. Next week, the Bruno leaders are also going to call your student on the phone just to say hello and see what questions they may have, any last minute concerns. So if you want to mention to your student, hey, if you get a phone call from an area code you don't know next week, or if you're an international student, they'll use WhatsApp. You might want to pick up that call because it may be your Bruno leader and they're really, really excited to connect with you. The leadership structure is such that we also have 6 Bruno Fellows, which are juniors and seniors who have served as a Bruno leader for at least 1 year. And this year, they're taking more of a coordinator or leadership role within the program. So this year, you may have seen they've provided summer webinars. They had virtual office hours 6 days a week, developed with a sort of understanding of the global spread of our students and all time zones represented. They've had a lot of fun connecting with your students in those office hours. They have a column in your students' Wednesday newsletter with right on time information. And they really, like, whenever anybody asks me the secret sauce of orientation, it's because the fingerprints of the Bruno leaders and the Bruno Fellows, especially, who consult so much on design of the program, it has to do with them, that they have helped so much to design and deliver a program that really resonates for our new students. Super. So I hinted a little bit at this, but the orientation program begins at the end of move-in, so on Wednesday, September 2nd. So it goes for about 6.5 days until the following Wednesday when students start classes, this year on Wednesday, September 9th. Labor Day has us on a very late schedule this year. Orientation is designed around those 3 core pillars, and we have a mix of small and large group events. We also have sensory-friendly spaces and tools. So whenever there is a large all-play event, like the orientation dance, like the ice cream social, There are also spaces where students can peel off into smaller sensory friendly spaces where we have tools like fidgets and crafts and comfortable seating and just a quieter space so that doesn't become overstimulating or overwhelming. The goal is for a memorable, positive onboarding that prepares students to begin their first year. It's not everything that they need all at once. It's not a more is more approach, but it is a supportive onboarding that gets them ready to begin and continue learning and growing at Brown University. The next thing I wanted to talk about before we just transition into our questions is just what you can do as a family member and a supporter to help your new student get the most out of orientation. It's really helpful if you can encourage them to participate in new student orientation fully. Encouraging them to step out of their comfort zone and try new things. Share their joy and excitement when they're having fun here and when they have challenges or setbacks. Remind them that they've overcome difficult things before, they've stepped into new social spaces before, and that they're resilient and capable. You can also talk to them about the fact that they'll have opportunities to choose the level and type of participation that feels right for them in many, many components of our orientation schedule, that we have sensory friendly spaces and activities. And we encourage you to participate fully in Parent and Family Welcome, which includes opportunities to connect with some of what's going on during new student orientation, and a send-off on Thursday afternoon, where you'll have the opportunity to meet up with their student between their activities, and we have dedicated time for you all to connect and say goodbye. That really allows you to not schedule calls or other activities and allow them to be fully present in new student orientation, learning about Brown, our campus, our culture, our academic expectations, and also really importantly, making the friends and connections that are going to help them thrive here. Thanks so much, Mikkel. I'm going to turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you both. We've had some great questions come in. So let's start with those. And then we have some that we had from the registration. We'll go into those as well. So one of the questions was, how do students find out which group they are part of, whether it's gold, red, or brown?
Yes.
Mary, do you want to touch on that one?
Yes, great question. So we actually, if you can believe it, the class is continuing to evolve. So we will have that information when your Bruno leader calls your student next week. The other thing that they'll do is they will invite them to join a GroupMe, which is a texting platform that's really compatible for groups, including iPhones and Androids. And that will allow them to know not just who their Bruno leader is, but each Bruno leader is part of a red, green, or gold group. So they will know that as soon as they hear from their Bruno leader. We will also make sure it gets sent to their Brown email. Sometimes, phones don't connect the way we expect them to, but every student, except one, I have one student who I don't think has activated their email, but if you can encourage them to stay plugged into their Brown University email, they will have that information there as well in about a week.
All right, thank you. This next one, I think it's for both of you, but I'm going to start with Shantae, and then Mary, you can chime in. We have a parent of a transfer student, and they're wondering what of this presentation applies to transfer students. Shantae?
Yeah, so at Brown, we consider anyone new to Brown, someone who could benefit from being connected with an exploratory advisor and a Meiklejohn peer advisor. So in addition to all of the support that our transfer students receive from the TRUE program, which is overseen by Avery Denons Jr., Transfer students are also assigned an exploratory advisor. You'll be a part of an exploratory advising cohort of other new and first-year students. And then you'll also be connected with a Meiklejohn peer advisor who can help you to navigate some of the academic components of your first year here at Brown, be thinking about the types of courses that you're wanting to take, give you some insights about professors and those kinds of things as well.
Great, thank you. Mary?
The only other thing I would say is that a lot of the schedule overlaps. There is a distinct schedule. They should be following the TRUE, which stands for Transfer and Resumed Undergraduate Education. It's a standalone schedule, but there's substantial overlap. And that just helps us ensure that some of the more nuanced academic advising issues, for example, get addressed in a space that can really attend to the differences and the nuances of a transfer experience. But things like, going to a Brown soccer match, coming to Costco, being at the orientation dance, all of those things will look and feel the same.
Great, thanks. We had another question similar to the last one, but it's about Brown RISD dual degree students. How are they incorporated into the program, Mary?
Yeah, very similarly. So there's a little bit of opportunity for them to mix and match, but largely we treat them like, so in their second year, their first year, they do orientation at RISD. So if your student, the person who asked this question, if your student is a first year student, their first year is primarily at RISD and their experience will be at RISD. If they're a second year student, they'll come to Brown and they'll go through our orientation at Brown. Because they're a second year student, they're not brand new to college. They have some experiences that are a little bit more aligned with a transfer student. So largely they'll refer to the TRUE, Transfer Resumed Undergraduate Education schedule. But Dean Rockford and Hannah from the Brown RISD dual degree program will be able to provide really specific insight into the pathway that your student should be following.
Great. Thanks, Mary. Shante, this one is for you, and it's about advising. And I'll mention too that we did do an advising webinar that you can find in our recordings and do a deep dive into all things advising. But 2 questions on this for you. One is, are advisors professional advisors or faculty members? And then the second one is, should students start emailing their advisors now? And if they do, will those advisors respond?
Great question. So at Brown, we have 2 kinds of advising. So in your first 2 years at Brown, you'll be assigned to an exploratory advisor. And those advisors consist of faculty, staff, and academic deans of the college. So depending upon any number of factors, a student will be assigned to someone who has an understanding of exploration at Brown, while not perhaps solely being devoted to the field of advising. And so I think that answers the professional advising question. And then the second question, and forgive me, it escaped me. What was that second part of the question?
Oh, the second part was, can they email their advisors right now?
Good question. So yes, you can. So your advising assignment, your Meiklejohn peer advisor also should be available to you. That information should be available to you and ask. Please feel free to go ahead and email your advisors. Some of you all may have already received emails from your advisor introducing themselves, but you can always feel free. Some, as you may know, there are different responsibilities over the summer, so we do encourage you to be patient as there are just competing things happening. But you certainly can feel free to reach out and communicate with them.
Excellent. Thank you. Mary, what happens if a Bruno leader calls someone? For example, this parent's student is in Ireland. There's a time difference. Will they leave contact information? What happens in those situations?
Yeah, that's a great point. Our Bruno leaders, because we have such small groups, they will look up your student's home address. And for example, if they're in Ireland, we'll try to make a good decision about when they call them. One, to not wake them up and disturb them in the middle of the night. So that's something to know too. Like they will try to reach your student at a time that your student is likely to be available, and they will absolutely, we have a lovely script of exactly what they'll say if they don't reach your student, and invite your student to call them back or to text or WhatsApp message with them, whatever's their level of comfort.
Great, thanks. I'm going to take just a minute to talk a little bit about the parent and family welcome because we've had a few questions about that. First up, this is not mandatory, so if you can't be here, it's totally okay. We will broadcast some of the informational panels that that are going to be happening in the morning of the 3rd, and we know that you're taking time out of your schedule to come here, drop your student off. You may need to get back for other family obligations, for work, whatever it is. And we also know Family Weekend is coming up in October. So this is a nice program to enjoy while you're here. But if you can't be here, that's okay. We have had a few questions about the send-off on the 3rd, where parents can meet up with their students in the afternoon. There's designated time for that. However, you can do that goodbye whenever. It doesn't have to be a formal event at that time and place, but it's something we keep time for. We will be sending out more details about the program of the Parent Welcome itself, but you can always send any questions about that to family@brown.edu. Mary, is there anything you want to add on that?
Nope, sounds great.
Okay, I'm going to go to some of the questions we got in the registration too. Let's see. One of them I think is really important is Shantae. What are some common freshman or first year mistakes that you've seen in the past and that students should avoid?
That is a good question. Mistakes, learning opportunities, right? However we want
Yeah,
to
that's the way we say it.
I think one of the biggest learning opportunities is to realize, right, that you're not supposed to have all of the answers. You're not supposed to have a fully idealized, plan of approach. Whatever sort of where you are on the spectrum of preparedness is totally, up to you and how you're wanting to approach your first year at Brown. We know that college and Brown and Rhode Island and all of this are new for many of our students who are joining us. And so we have targeted and intentional and timely care and support for the students who come here. And so whether you're very prepared or not as prepared, that's all right. And so have grace with yourself, right? And come with an open mind to experience all of the support and the open curriculum that Brown has to offer.
Great, thank you. We've had a few questions, Mary, about international students and maybe the difference between international orientation and regular orientation and what the transition is between those two programs.
Yeah, absolutely. So international orientation starts on the Saturday before first year move-in on Wednesday, the 2nd. So I think it's the 29th or the 30th. Is that
29th?
Thank you. And so your student will come in and be able to have an incredible, what we call international orientation experience. A lot of things look and feel kind of similar in that it's a very student leader driven experience. We have IMP mentors, so International Mentoring Program. Those mentors stay with your student throughout the first year and deliver a really wonderful international orientation experience. I think it's a wonderful balance of sort of orienting you to Brown, to our campus, building connections with other members of the international community, and some of the nuts and bolts like setting up a phone and a bank account, making sure your social security number is in order, and all of those things. So that's what happens during international orientation. Then we give students, and by the way, my team is in international student orientation as well, helping students connect there and learn a little bit more about what they can expect during general orientation. General orientation is an additional 6 to 7 days after that. So one thing we do by design is we give students a day of rest on Wednesday the 2nd when the rest of the first year class is moving in. So they have support, they have a day of reprieve, And they have a chance to talk a little bit about what it's going to feel like to go from a more like intimate experience with other students who have sort of a shared understanding of what it means to come from an international background into a much bigger group of 1,700 of your new close friends. So we try to make sure that that feels supported and that there's an opportunity for a little bit of downtime in between.
Excellent. Thank you. Let's see. Are there any special orientation activities for student athletes?
Oh. So what I'll say is fall student athletes will probably move in early and may have some specific opportunities where they're trying to be in practice and training and even have some games based on how late the school year is starting this year. So while there's nothing that's a specific experience for student athletes, we work extremely closely with the coaches to make sure that those activities don't conflict and that our students have time to do things like sleep and eat. So they're not just running directly between different experiences. But generally, new student orientation is for everybody. And one of the ways that everybody plugs into our culture of supporting our athletics teams is that we go to a field hockey game, a men's soccer game, and a women's soccer game during orientation. But otherwise, your student athlete should just know that folks like me and on my team and their coaches have taken a really close look at their schedule and developed it with their well-being in mind and their capacity to be in the places they need to be and have some good rest.
Excellent. I think this is for Mary and Shantae. Can you talk about a little bit about the information that students are going to be receiving in the final few weeks before arrival on campus? I'll start with Mary. We've had questions about dorm assignment, well, I think everybody's got their dorm assignments by now, but also their move-in schedule and things like can they mail things in advance? Let's start there, and then we'll move to Shantae with some other aspects of that question.
Yes, your student in their banner, so their student portal, will be able to log in and see a 4-digit box number that's assigned to them. They are welcome to mail things to coincide with their arrival, whether that's September 2nd, first year move-in day, or if they need to send things a little earlier because they're coming to a pre-orientation, a pre-orientation like international orientation. They are welcome to send things to coincide with their arrival. They will pick up their packages and mail at Paige Robinson Hall, which they will learn about in whatever orientation experience that they have first. And then Mikkel, the second question was about move-in times.
Yeah. When will they learn about their move-in time and all those details about
moving?
The logistics of moving in.
Yeah. Move-in is one of my favorite days. So the good news is it's not that your student will learn about a move-in time, it's your student will have an opportunity to select and make a move-in appointment time. So we know you're traveling from all over. Some of you are driving in that morning and you want to arrive in the afternoon. Some of you have already flown in and you're ready to go. You want to check out of the hotel and you want to get here. So Res Life is going to send an email in the coming days that is going to invite your student to log into their housing portal and select a move-in time. And they can go ahead and do that. I think they're in about 30-minute blocks, but they can select the time that they want to move in. And we can make sure that everything's ready for you. I can give a quick run through of what move-in looks like.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's a really smooth, joyful experience. We're surrounded by volunteers, faculty, staff, and students. You might have some of the football players come run up to your car, greet you, and start unloading. We will make sure your student gets their Brown ID. If they haven't already, please make sure they upload their photo into Banner. That is what allows us to get their ID printed and make sure it's waiting for them at their dorm. So they'll get their Brown ID card and their key to their dorm. You will pull right up. Some student volunteers will help you unload your cart. We'll have those laundry carts. And then someone will stay with the car and move it to a longer term parking location. And so that that area will just be really staging. We'll do a quick unload. You'll park the car and come back. And it should be a pretty streamlined experience. We also have some orientation tours that our students are providing in all different languages. Mikkel's hosting some fun activities. I think there's an all-day move-in barbecue at the faculty club. So there's a lot of fun stuff going on move-in day. But again, you can choose to arrive at the time that works for you. But once you're in, you're in. It's really just about when's your car going to pull up and get unloaded.
Excellent. All right. So Shantae, a couple of random advising questions. Somebody was asking about what are the advising groups?
Yeah, so each advisor is assigned around 5 to 6 new and first year advisees. So those are the students who are coming to Brown. So we call those advising groups or advising cohorts. And then each of those cohorts is assigned an advisor, like I said, and a Meiklejohn peer advisor. So the exploratory advisor and Meiklejohn peer advisor partner together to help to support those advisees in the advising groups.
And I guess there's some folks who have put in for their AP credits and they're wondering when those will show up on their transcript.
Right. So I believe that if you accept those placement notations, you should have some information about that by October 5th at the latest. If you have any specific questions about placement and notations, we highly recommend that you reach out to the particular department. So there's calc placement, there's language placements, and I believe there's bio. And that information, the links and how to access that information was shared in the previous webinar about advising. So if you want to go back and look at that, you can find specific information about where to look and those timelines.
And is there any way for a student to request an earlier registration time?
No, so registration opens up for all first year students on September 4th at September 4th at 4 p.m. Sorry, a lot of fours. And it stays open for you all until Monday at 11:59, and then it opens back up for everybody on Tuesday, September the 8th. And so on advising day, which is Friday, September 4th, your Meiklejohns will be with you at locations around the campus to help you to be ready at 4 o'clock when registration opens. And so we call that Mix in the Unit. It's a big chance for everybody to get together and get in the classes, but that is when it opens for everybody. So you want to make sure that you're available.
All right. And just to follow up on those advising groups, are they organized by major? And what if your major is undecided?
Absolutely. So because your first 2 years at Brown are focused on exploration, we do not make any intentional matches with students based upon their academic interest. We want to really help students to focus in on exploring the open curriculum. You'll have time to concentrate, and you'll be assigned a concentration advisor in your last 2 years at Brown. And so in that way, we do not focus on intentionally assigning students based upon an academic interest. Our exploratory advisors are highly trained in helping students to think about how to make meaning of the open curriculum, how to find a pathway that works for them.
Thank you. All right, Mary, you had a minute to rest. I've got some quick rapid fire questions for you that have come in. Let's see. If a parent or a student wants to do last shopping after moving in, is there a time for students to do that?
Yeah, I would just encourage you to select an early move-in time, and then your student's next commitment will be at 5 p.m. on Wednesday. So if you want to do a quick unload, settle in of the stuff you have, you can be back out to have lunches at family, run to Target, whatever else you need to do. We just invite your student back to have dinner and their first community meeting with their community coordinator starting at 5 p.m.
Will there be helpers to help them move in?
So many helpers. Yes. There will be a lot of helpers, and I think that's part of what makes it such a community-oriented experience. You will have at least one student leader assigned to one of those big like hotel style laundry carts that will stay with you all. But depending on where and when you show up, you might be met by a lot of Brown students who are excited to see your student and you and help you all move in.
Absolutely. When does the first orientation activity start for students?
So technically it's at 5 p.m. on Wednesday. And then we have what we think of as the official kickoff of orientation on Thursday morning. We do a more formal welcome assembly. This is where we have incredible student performances, a faculty keynote speaker. This year we have one of the ones I'm really excited about the student performance is mariachi at Brown. Last year we had Gendo Taiko, the Japanese drumming group. It's a really exciting and joyful time, and that's sort of the formal opening of orientation. But again, to help your student fully plug in, 5 p.m. on Wednesday the 2nd, they should be back at their dorm, ready to connect with their community coordinator.
Okay. And what is campus like during Labor Day weekend? For international folks, it's a long holiday weekend, but I think there's still a lot of activity.
Yeah, so during orientation on the Monday of orientation, so this year it's September 7th, we have what we call brunch and bouquets. So students will wake up. We have a local cafe that's bringing coffee and pastries, and a local florist who's bringing a ton of flowers so students can make a little bouquet and put it in their room to sort of brighten and cheer up their room. Then we have coach buses coming to pick them up with Experience RI. And this is a local company that does tours of the area. And so it's an excellent historical tour for about an hour and a very sort of functional tour of Providence. In the afternoon, they'll do another meeting with their Bruno Leader small group, and they'll do what we call class tours, because at this point, as Dean Montgomery mentioned, they will have registered for some classes and have a sense of what their classes may look like. And so the Bruno leaders make a point to make sure that the students know every building and academic classroom that they're going to be going to on that first day. So that is not going to be a barrier that they face on Wednesday. And then we have some fun evening activities as well. I think one of the sporting events is on Monday, and some other things that the student leaders have designed. I think there's just dance on the main green. Oh, I think Monday is the silent disco, actually. So that's where they have the headphones and everyone's dancing on a different channel. Is actually one of my favorite orientation activities. So Monday is a fun day. It won't feel like a typical sort of quiet Labor Day for your new student at Brown University.
Right. And where do students get their keys and their ID when they first get here?
So it's the first thing that they'll do. They'll roll up. A student, at least one student volunteer will meet you at the car to help start unloading, and they'll show your student exactly where to go to check in. As they officially check in, they'll get a small envelope that contains their ID and their key. Now, if they have not uploaded their photo to Banner, their first stop is going to be, I'm so sorry, we can't check you in. I need you to go to Paige Robinson Hall so they can take your photo and they can give you a card. So it does really gum up the start if the student hasn't uploaded that photo, because then we don't have the card. It's over at Paige Robinson. And so that is one thing you can do to streamline, but it's the first thing that they'll get when they get there. You'll see signage, you'll see people waving you in exactly where to go. So it's going to be a very low friction experience when you come to move in.
Excellent. Couple of questions about the photo ID, and I'm going to preface this by saying, Mary, I don't know if you know the answers, but I'm going to try anyway. One parent is saying that their student changed their hair color, which I can relate from my child. Should they retake their ID? And then another person said that the photo was really blurry. Can they submit for a new ID?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to either of those. Can they? I'm not sure. Should they? If the Banner ID office accepted the photo, I don't think it's required. But I would encourage them to reach out to, it's called the Brown Card Office, and see what they think about those topics.
Okay. And I'll put that link in for the Brown Card Office, and they should be able to assist. We got a question about convocation, and I can talk a little bit about that. So convocation is on Tuesday, September 8th, the day before the start of classes. And It's a really important tradition here at Brown. You may have heard the sort of lore that surrounds Brown students, where they go through the gates twice in their life, and once is or at their time at Brown. One is on convocation day when they start school, and one is on commencement day when they end school. So that's what Tuesday is. It's primarily for the students. We do have some viewing areas for families if you're in the area, but we also live stream everybody coming through the gates. So you can watch it from wherever you happen to be in the world that day. And we recommend that because, it's a point in time where students have the ability to start making those friendships and walking the gates together. And it's a very sort of communal experience for the students that's kind of outside of the rest of the world in a lot of ways. So if you're here, we welcome you and we'd love to see you there, but no need to be here. You can watch it from the comfort of your home. And so that's a little bit. We'll also have the speaker. There is a speaker every year for convocation, and you'll be able to listen to that as well live, and we'll have a recording posted for you afterward. That's convocation. I had another question about how parents can enjoy orientation. Wednesday afternoon is a reception that after you've done your move-in, you're probably emotional, tired, a little bit hungry, thirsty. We'll have food and drink for you. We'll have a speaking program with senior leaders, including VP Potavian, who you met earlier. We hope you'll join us there from 5 to 7. And then the following day, we have a series of activities for you. We have panels, 2 panel sessions that with our campus life leaders and leaders from the college, speaking about the campus community, navigating the transition, making sure that your student stays healthy and well on campus. And then later that day, we have a couple of unique tours that you have not experienced before in the admissions process. And we also have that farewell at the Rockefeller Library, and you get an opportunity to see the library facilities at the same time. So we hope you'll join us for that. You should have received registration email, and we'll send a few more. You'll get a lot more communication on that before the end of this summer. Let's see what else we have for Mary and Shantae. We have a lot of questions about photos, and I will put that card office information. Shantae, this is about registration again on September 4th at 4 o'clock. Are the freshmen, or we call them first year students here, are the first year students the first class to register for classes?
No. So fall pre-registration happened for all of our rising students in the end of the spring semester, which is why we have this designated time just for first year students to be able to get into courses at Brown or CAB to register on September 4th. So yeah.
Okay. Let's see, Mary. Is there a packing list that's provided?
Yeah. Yeah, so honestly, it might be less than you think. We do provide a packing list. It has similar login credentials to Dean Montgomery had mentioned your Bruno Beginnings being behind the login. It is behind the login, but you can ask your student to look at it with you. I'll put the link in the chat and you can hang on to it to look at with them. Most of them have logged in. It was shared with them earlier this summer. I think what I would say though is it might be less than you think. It is definitely a different space than your student has ever lived in before, and it might be helpful to bring what you are very sure that they will need, see the space, do a potential shopping trip if helpful, or the student can just live in the space for a few days, talk out what feels like they need with their roommate, and make a list for our Costco trip on Sunday evening. That might be really helpful too. I do tend to have a less is more approach, knowing that somehow the stuff always grows and grows and grows over the year. So bringing less is probably a safe bet. I'm going to send this link to Mikkel, who I think can put it in chat. But again, it's something that you'll need to access with your student.
Okay, I have it, Mary.
Oh, you do? Perfect.
Yes. Hope everybody can access that. We are getting close to the end of the webinar. I know there's some questions we're not going to get to, so please, if we didn't get to your question today, you can email me at family@brown.edu and I will answer it the best I can. And if I don't have the answer, I will share it with my colleagues who can help you out. So I'm going to give you both the final question. It's the same one. Shantae, we'll start with you. If parents could do just one thing between now and move-in day, what would be the best thing they could do to set up their student for success?
Remind their student that it's important for them to go into Ask to set up, not Ask, sorry, Courses at Brown, to have their students to set up their shopping cart for advising day. The shopping cart gives your advisor and your Meiklejohn a clearer understanding of the types of courses that you're thinking about, the schedule that you're considering for the fall semester. And so remind your student to go into CAB to do that. And as it relates to Ask, to go and take a look around, learn a little bit more about who your exploratory advisor is, as well as who your Meiklejohn peer advisor. Your Meiklejohns have written you introduction letters, so they're excited to get to meet you. And then lastly, completing first year at Brown. So in addition to your shopping cart, first year at Brown provides you with some modules to complete. One of those modules gives you a chance to introduce yourself to your advising team and put that in your own words. And so it gives them just a clearer understanding of what your interests are, what you're thinking about as it relates to your time here at Brown. And so it helps to kind of fill out that understanding of who you are. And so if you can help to do those three things to help to prepare for advising day and advising at Brown, that would be fantastic.
You, Shantae, that's wonderful. And Mary.
Yeah, I love all of those answers. And I think that's all they need to do. When they hear from their Bruno leader, that will help them think about the next steps. I would encourage them to make the most of the last few weeks of summer. Enjoy this time. The school year will be here before we know it. And there's a lot that's going to happen once they get here and once it all starts. So help them come with a full tank, spend time with family, spend time with loved ones that are where they are, and know that this will all be here soon. But yeah, I think being present within the rest of the summer is the best thing they can do for now.
Absolutely. Yes, there'll be all that time for work and study when they get here. I just put a link into the chat. This is our survey to let us know how we're doing on our webinars. If you have any feedback for us on ways we could provide additional resources or information, we'd love to hear from you. So it's 3 questions. It's pretty quick. Please fill that out when you can. And now we are at the top of the hour. Again, I want to let you know that we have been recording this. We will post it to the webinar page. So you'll get that in a day or two. And we also will answer any other questions we weren't able to get to if you send them to family@brown.edu. That is the end of our program. We're at 1 o'clock. So I want to thank once again Mary Jordan, Shantae Montgomery, and also VP Potevian, who was with us earlier, and of course our captioner and media services tech, who always help us out and make this program what it is. So we look forward to seeing you on campus, everyone. Please enjoy the remainder of your summer, and we will see you very soon. Take care.